Each week, push yourself to do a couple more than the week before. Let's now get the right person to help the client. We do business insurance. Okay, well, what is business? Just another thing to think about. Hey guys, Stephen Harrington Dakota here, your agency best friend and the diva of insurance, wanting to talk to you about cross-selling during a renewal review. What? Is it the right time? Is it the wrong time? We're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the options available and give you some different ways that you can think about how you can actually add in a cross-sell during a renewal review. So one of the first things I think that we're worried about is I don't want to be pushy or salesy, right? We're like, oh, I don't want him to get mad. I don't want him to think that I'm just trying to sell him things. They might feel that way if we're not providing value. But are we talking through the problems? Are we asking questions? Are we fact finding and getting the information we need in a professional way? Or are we just trying to rush through a checklist? Really, if we think about it, there's a couple levels of service. A great level of service is just like you're talking with your best friend. So if you're talking with your best friend, you want to be their agent. You're going to give them the best service, your friendliest voice, and you're going to have a great time talking. If you're just trying to get things done and you're checking them off a list to move on to the next one, the client might not want to be so warm or be so open with you because they're a little defensive. So really, one thing to think about, if you're good enough to be their agent for one policy, why aren't you good enough for the other policy? Let that sink in. If you're good enough for one policy, why not the other? And I think a lot of us just get in our own way. We're like, oh, they have their auto. I'm sure they're happy with where their home's at. They have never said anything. But really, what if they don't have home? What if they don't know anything about renters? What if they've never heard of any of these coverages? Or what if they bought it through an 800 number or online? A lot of times when people buy a house, their mortgage person helps them secure insurance. They don't know who their agent is. I'm not saying that's always the situation with mortgages, but a lot of times they help them find coverage. So they're just placing coverage where they can get it to get the loan closed. The client's like, yep, it's what I needed. I got my loan. And that's all they're worried about. So if you already have their auto, why not ask about the home? The multi-policy discount is one of the largest discounts offered by most carriers. And even if you can't package it together with the same carrier, you can still control both policies. When you control both policies, it helps increase retention and it helps with the overall numbers. Once you've had a chance to review the policy for the insured and provide them some options, they're going to look at you as much more of a professional. It's giving you a chance to build the relationship. It's giving you a chance to establish your expertise and to make sure that the client is comfortable with what they have and you don't have to worry about what they have because you have either quoted it and offered it and they've accepted or they've declined, but at least you've offered and you know where everything's at now. So that is a great way to think about it. I'm good enough to be their agent for one policy, why not the others? The next thing is schedule the renewal review call. If you book some time with the client, they're going to be in less of a rush. They know what the time expectation is. So they're going to be able to slow down. You're going to have some time to ask the questions necessary, and it's not going to feel so rushed. The client's waiting for you. They spent time with you. They blocked time in their day for you. So you can now shine. Now's the time to look at what they currently have, ask those probing questions. Is there any other people in the household? Have you done any remodels? Has your gross receipts changed? I always tend to flip to the personal line side because that's what I did more of for years, but it's the same with commercial. How many employees do you have? Is your business growing? Did you buy any new equipment? Lots of different options there. So just really think about those questions that you can ask about the existing, but also start asking those questions about another policy. So if I only have the homeowner's policy, a simple question is, how many people are in the household, right? It could go for auto or home. They don't know. And once they say, oh, there's 3 people, and if you know they're married, okay, so it's you and your spouse, and then who's the third if we don't know who the kids are? Or it could be grandma, it could be mom, it could be another family member, it could be a roommate. We don't know. But ask those questions. Then look and find out what additional discounts might be offered. Again, we want to provide wow service. We want to make sure that we are giving them options, we are reviewing everything with them, and we're letting them make the decision as to what they want. If we scheduled the time, whether it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that is, we can still ask a couple of those questions about another line of business. Then towards the end of the call, we could say, hey, it looks like you might be missing one of the largest discounts XYZ carrier offers. Would you mind if I take a look at your auto? I already have some of the basic information here. Just have a couple other questions, and I can get that to you either right now on the phone, because we love to quote over the phone, or I can get that to you in an hour. I want to give you a call back. Can I call you back at 12:30? Set a time, set a date, run the quote, and give them a call back. But again, you can still ask those questions during a renewal review. So book some time with the client. Another great idea is if you don't ask them, someone else will. If you don't ask them, someone else will. So, like we talked at the beginning of this conversation, 1 in 3 people is shopping for auto insurance this year. Out of those, half of them take the first quote they get. Well, what if they have home with you and an auto with Agent X? Agent X is doing a renewal review. You do a renewal review. Both great levels of service. Agent X goes, hey, I see that we don't have your auto policy. Do you mind if I ask where that's at? Or they say, hey, do you have any other policies anywhere else? The client goes, yep, I got my auto with XYZ. And the agent goes, great, let me take a look at that. I'm going to try to find you some additional discounts. Client goes, okay. They get the policy, they close it on the phone, and you get a cancellation for the policy that you had for the client. Again, if you don't ask, you don't know. And if you don't ask, someone else will. We're bombarded by commercials and mailers and things in magazines and pop-up ads on our social media all about insurance. Advertising and insurance is a multi-billion-dollar industry, guys. They want people to know that options are available. I was shocked for years when I would say, hey, I see we have your home but don't have your auto. And the customer would go, wait a minute, you do auto? I thought you only did home. What? No, we do boats and motorcycles, we do RVs, we do all these different things. And the client was like, oh, I honestly thought you only did home. So again, we have to educate our customer and just ask the question. Or if you're more comfortable, you could say, hey, I'd just like to document where your other policy's at so that if you call me in a panic because something happened and I'm not the agent, I can still refer you to the correct place. Would you mind if I update my file with that information? Simple, easy, it shows you care, and you're starting a conversation. Just another thing to think about. Another great option if you're uncomfortable is talk about the line of business nobody else talks about. Umbrellas, boats, motorcycles, life insurance, dental, term life, medical, vision, towing. We have all kinds of different options available to us. Most people focus in personal lines on auto and home, auto and home, auto and home, auto and home. Or we have business. We do business insurance. Okay, well, what is business? Is it a BOP? Is it a GL? Is it E&O? Is it officers and directors? What are we talking about? A lot of times the client has no idea other options are available or that these extra things are available. So even if they already have auto and home with you, maybe they have pre-qualified for an umbrella or it looks like their limits are closed. Why not bring up the subject of the coverage? Hey, I wanted to let you know about this really important coverage. It looks like your home value is at $700,000 for replacement cost. You only have $500,000 in liability on your auto. I'm worried. $500,000 in liability on your home. Sorry. I'm worried that if something happens, you might not have enough liability coverage. We have this great policy and then stop because we're going to be like, well, what's liability, right? We love to use insurance fees. But we're going to stop and we're going to say, okay, liability. Let's break it down. What is liability? Liability is going to be trip and fall. Somebody gets injured. You get sued because the dog gets out, whatever that may be. That's called liability coverage. You're having a party and somebody falls off the retaining wall and breaks their back. Goodness forbid they can't work for a long period of time. You might be responsible for that. That can be liability. So your homeowner's policy has $500,000 in liability. I can get you an extra $1 million in coverage for about $20 a month or $40 a month or whatever that price is. Do you want me to look further into that for you? If we painted the picture, explained the need, and told the insured why they need the coverage, most likely they're going to say yeah. And if they say no, that's okay too. Let them know that you're going to give them more information on the coverage so they can continue to look at that. Shoot a quick video, send them marketing from the carrier, send them some information from the agency on what that policy was. Another thing you might be thinking is, yeah, I'm not licensed for that. I don't do commercial insurance. I don't do life. I don't do health, or I don't do personal lines. You don't have to. You have a whole team of people and a referral network all around you to question and get the right person to help the client. You're then a problem solver. You're still taking care of the client's needs and looking like a hero because you talked about something that they didn't know anything about or that most other people don't. So again, looking for those uncommon lines of business or the lines of business that aren't plastered all over the TV and the billboards. The recommended script that we have is, well, I have you. Do you happen to have any other policies with other agents? Simple enough, right? While I have you, do you have any other policies with other agents? It's great for new or renewal or anything. It's casting a large net, right? We're not saying, do you have a trailer? Do you have an airplane? Do you have a boat? We're not putting them in a box. We're saying, do you happen to have any other policies with other agents? They say yes, ask them what and where. Say, hey, what you got? Oh, you have your motorcycle with Carrier Y. Great. How's the service been? Do they reach out for an annual review? Do they provide solutions to your problems? Oh, you bought it online? Okay, great. Do you mind if I take a look at it? What kind of motorcycle is it? What color? Get a little bit excited about whatever their hobby or thing is. And lastly, we have winner, winner, chicken dinner. This one is the way that I learned how to cross-sell at a renewal review. I always felt like I was going to be too pushy or sound salesy, that the client was going to get upset that I was asking additional questions that had nothing to do with the policy that I was currently reviewing with them or that we had for them. And my old boss would be like, okay, well, where's their home? And I'd be like, oh, I forgot to ask. Well, being the smart lady she's like, okay, go ahead and call him back and ask. You know how awkward that is to be like, hi, I know we just spent 10 minutes together talking about your insurance, but I forgot to ask where your homeowner's coverage is. 100 times more awkward than building it into the conversation that you're already having with the insured, right? So let's think about it. If we make 10 renewal calls a day, about 40% of those people are going to answer. That is 4 people. Out of those 4 people that we're talking to, is it a good idea to ask them where their policies are? Absolutely. We're going to say yes every time you ask. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a document on your computer. You're going to have a couple different columns. One is number of renewal calls made. That gives you your baseline. Number that didn't answer. Number that answered. Okay. That's going to give us 2 different metrics. We're going to know how many people answered. And then a column for, did you offer an increase? And did you offer an additional line of business? And at first, you're going to go a week and you're going to have 2 or 3 like, oh, yes, I was scared, but I did it. And I asked one time, I asked for a cross sell. I asked them where their boat was, and they didn't have a boat. And then they were worried. And then I was worried that they were going to get mad. So I stopped asking questions. That's okay. At least you asked one time. One is better than none. Each week, push yourself to do a couple more than the week before. What you're going to find is after a couple of weeks, it becomes almost second nature. You really want to win at the game. You want to make sure that you are making those calls, first of all, and that you're getting a result once you get on the call. We find that sometimes it takes 2 or 3 calls to get somebody to say yes to a quote or yes to purchasing a new policy. But if we talk about it every time they call, at least they know we're aware of it. And I bet their agent is not doing the same thing. Keep track of how many times you asked for a cross-sell and how many times you asked for an increase. Build that up after week, trying to do better every week. Once you get fairly comfortable with it, go to a coworker and be like, hey, I have this fun game for us to play. Make it a friendly challenge. Whoever wins has to buy, or whoever loses has to buy the other one coffee on Friday, or whoever loses has to bring breakfast on Monday. I mean, make it simple but fun. It's really going to hold each other accountable. The other thing is it opens a conversation with your coworker about what's working for them. Spend a couple minutes and be like, hey, I really have found that when I say it really works, or I'm really comfortable talking about this. And then I've got a lot of no's when I did this. Do you have any ideas? And your coworker's going to have some of the same ideas and maybe some different ideas. So just make sure it is a fun game between the two of you and you will both continue to grow. Again, one of the reasons for cross-selling at renewal is to build confidence in the customer that you know what you're talking about, first of all, that you're adding value and trying to do more than just take a payment from them or just take their money. You people take my money, as they like to say. But if you've built a friendly relationship or you start to build that with the client and you're an advisor versus an order taker, some of those walls come down. The client's gonna be like, hey, I got in an accident and I really need some help. I'm worried my rates are going to go up. What can you do? Or what can you tell me? A lot of times we can't tell them anything, right? But we can still have a conversation. Or something comes up in their life and they have a life change. They're going to call you versus being embarrassed and calling around trying to get a quick policy. Or they go to buy a new car. And the dealer's like, oh, come with me. We have an insurance department now. They're going to take care of that. New cars, insurance, all for you. Client's going to go, no, I love Steven. Steven's my agent. I'm going to call Steven and get it taken care of. You want to make sure that you are adding value to the conversation at the renewal. And by doing that, solidifying the relationship with the client. So in conclusion, make a small conscious decision to try something new. Take one of the tips from above previously and try it out. Try it with your friends. Try it with your coworkers. If you're not comfortable, record yourself. Take out your phone, put it on video, and talk to yourself on the phone. See what you sound like. Play it back and really listen. Or listen to recorded calls. Find out what it is that is and isn't working for you, but take baby steps. Try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. If it does work, refine it, rebuild it, and make it yours. So just make sure that you do understand that every renewal call is an opportunity to build a relationship, add an additional line of business, or a coverage, and just make sure that the client is really confident in you and the coverage that they have. If you have any additional questions, or want more information, you can reach out to us at agencyperformancepartners.com.